Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Gisela, and I will be the host for today's webinar, Critical Alignment for Security, Safety, and Product Development Teams. Before I pass it over to our speakers, let me cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, you will find multiple application engagement tools. You can adjust their size and position to optimize your computer screen. To expand your presentation area or maximize it to full screen, simply click to the arrows in the top right corner. If you have any audio or video issues, you can find answers to some common technical questions located in the Help widget at the bottom of your screen. Please note that a copy of today's slide deck and additional resources are available in the resources list. Please have a look and download everything that you may find useful. Also, this webinar will be recorded and sent via the email you registered with. Lastly, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can submit them through the Q&A widget. We are here to answer you live via the chat throughout the presentation, so don't hesitate to reach out. In case we run out of time or we don't manage to answer your questions, we will make sure to follow up later by email. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers. Today, we are joined by Matt Mickle. He's the Director of Automotive and Semiconductor Solutions in Jama Software, with focus on providing solutions and consulting to the unique needs of this market. He has over 10 years of experience working with hundreds of Jama Connect customers on their requirement and system engineering processes as a consultant, and moved from the US to Europe in 2017 to help start and build the team at Jama Software EMEA headquarters in Amsterdam. We are also joined by Kevin Devil. He is the president of Renovate Consulting with more than 30 years of product development experience, including 10 years in automotive industry. He's a trainer and certified assessor for ISO 21434, ISO 26262, and automotive SPI standards. He helps OEMs, Tier 1, Tier 2, and semiconductor companies improve and optimize their processes for agility and automotive compliance. And with that, I will pass it over to Kevin.
Thanks, Gisela. I'd like to talk about the agenda for today and really focus on the word alignment, because that's where we're going to cover how we bring together cybersecurity teams, safety teams, product development teams, even project management. There's a lot of siloing and opportunities in organizations for these specialized groups to work separately. But we're going to talk about the importance of bringing these teams together and show some enabling technologies around live traceability and traceable agile practices. So that's the focus for today. But first, let's start with the problem. And I want to isolate safety and security to begin with. So how are teams working today in these two functional areas? With the puzzle piece in the middle, I'm trying to communicate that these teams want to work together, but the puzzle doesn't quite fit yet. So let's look at some of the underlying reasons why. First, with functional safety, the standards for functional safety in automotive, ISO 26262, has been around since 2011, and the safety work's been around even longer than that. So for OEMs and Tier 1s and even some Tier 2s, the organizational competency, processes, tools, the culture of safety is quite mature. But on the right side, we have a cybersecurity, which in automotive is a new discipline with new standards, new audits, and assessment requirements, and requirements coming very rapidly from OEMs and Tier 1s worldwide. These teams are going through training. The processes for doing product development according to standards like 21434 are new or in development still. The discipline itself is new and transforming out of IT security. And so this helps to understand perhaps some of the underlying factors of why these teams might be working separately or not working exactly on the same page, which leads to a silo situation. And I've got functional safety on the right and cybersecurity on the left. Both of those standards and both of those disciplines requiring automotive V model development with strict requirements for documentation, quality, and compliance with the V model. And so what's happening is that the organizations pulling together these disciplines along with product development are doing some sharing in risk analysis and basically handing requirements to product development teams, and not yet in a stage where they're fully collaborating. And that presents some problems and adds some risk. A couple of examples here is both safety and security are risk-based standards for understanding either how do we mitigate the risk of something wearing out, like hardware or defects that could cause us safety issues on the one, and then on the cybersecurity side, how do we mitigate the risk of an attacker using a threat to infect or change the behavior of a system. The controls or the mitigations for those two types of risks might result in conflicting requirements. For example, how to handle a communication channel. And I've given you an example right here. Those two teams have to work together along with product to solve those differences, as well as to build an integrated system that at the end of the product release cycle, we're not finding surprises in terms of conflicting requirements, implementations that don't work together cohesively. And so that's one of the areas cyber and safety silos can cause problems. Now, we've heard about safety issues, recalls, and unfortunately crashes and fatalities for years. But I want to highlight some of the things that are being written in the press even recently about the threats that cybersecurity is now trying to address, from taking controls of fleets of vehicles to shutting down production lines to causing safety-related hazards potentially. These are very real threats, and this is why the industry is moving so quickly to adopt the new cybersecurity standard. And to be able to tie together the disciplines of safety and security, as well as product development, communication is critical. These safety analyses and threat analysis can't happen in a vacuum. The teams have to work together, and this is where that alignment concept becomes so important. Also, both these standards, 21434 and ISO 26262, require establishment of communication channels between safety, security, and other disciplines like quality. So the developers of these standards certainly were aware of the need for these teams to talk and to achieve alignment. Just to focus a little bit more on conflicting requirements and causing rework. Typically what happens is that the safety and the security analysis and the requirements are done by separate teams with some limited interaction and at different times in the product development cycle, with sometimes in the programs I've worked on, cybersecurity requirements coming really late, which then conflict potentially with safety requirements, causing rework late in the cycle after software's been developed and tested and integrated, which means surprises in schedule and retesting and cost that goes along with that. So that's a quick focus in on safety and security, but now let's expand the problem a little bit to look at how does this collaboration work together with systems and software. So another trend to be aware of that's driving these teams to work together in a more important way is the continual increasing complexity of the software in the vehicles. Multiple standards such as R155 and R156 that's driving cybersecurity adoption, as well as software supplied services into the car, ADAS, AI, continuous updates, are driving an unsustainable growth in the amount of software in the vehicle. And so means that now all of this software or much of this software is exposed to external threats, which really is a driving factor in cybersecurity adoption because it increases the attack surfaces. So the new standard with 21434 seeks to address this, but it's new and the communication channels aren't well established, as mentioned before.